All right, the class is about to begin. You are about to learn the 10 key critical components in building a holistic brand online, a presence that allows you to have your offline workshops and trainings or to become a speaker if that's where you want to take your business, and to learn how to create attraction and visibility so the right people are finding you and wanting to pay you for your value. Go ahead and grab a pad of paper and pen so that you can take some good notes. I have a message for you at the end, so go ahead and watch this entire class. And again, Karina is going to come in and share with you more about why she chose not to give up on her own business and how she was able to work with Mike and I in being able to bring her business to life and create success. Go ahead and enjoy the webinar. I'll see you at the end. It is Robyn Linn. We are connecting this evening to visibility and authentic attraction to help you create a holistic brand online. So how do you do that? We begin by asking the simplest of questions. Can they see you? Can they hear you? Do they feel you? And do they want more of you? Creating a holistic brand and taking your offline business or a practice or a passion that you have is possible for you. And I'm going to be sharing with you some personal information about how to do that, to connect with you and for you to connect with you. So if you have a quiet space, you're going to get more out of this connection session with me tonight. If you don't have any distractions, you're going to receive with much more intimacy, with much more of an intentional connection if you are able to grab a pad of paper and pen and really take some notes that come through. I'm going to be asking you questions and for you to write down some things as we go so that you stay engaged in the process. The more engaged you are and the less distracted you are, the more we can really tune in, because that's kind of been the problem, right? Haven't known how to bring it all together, haven't known how to maintain the right amount of focus while maintaining your lifestyle and the routine you have with all the other stuff, the work, the kids, self-care. So I'm going to be addressing all of this as we go. I may be a little bit intuitive along the way, guiding us, but I'm going to stay on point to connect you to your message, to how to actually establish this holistic brand out of the passions you have, the services you offer, the way of life that you actually want to create for yourself, moving that into a business that's successful and that's monetizable and that actually makes a bigger impact in the world. So what are the modalities that you offer? Obviously, you don't have to write this down, but it's something that may be helpful as we keep going tonight. What are the modalities that you provide? Are you a holistic nutritionist? Do you offer fitness or yoga or motivational speaking? Are you a wellness coach or into holistic health, massage therapy? Are you a teacher, or maybe you have been a teacher, or a nurse? Are you a naturopath or seeking your naturopath education? Maybe you're like many of our students, chiropractors and acupuncturists, or you offer Reiki as part of your value, or you're a corporate professional with a passion for healing. And here's an image here of one of our students, Bernadette. She lives in Massachusetts, and she has a product that she created. It's called the Way Band, and she offers a product that her clients wear, but the main vessel of what she does, which she didn't quite understand, hone in, value until she worked with Mike and I in our community, was that it was all about connecting her message to her audience and using her strengths as a public speaker and putting that on video by attracting people to her natural ability. So Just take a moment, notice what your modalities that you offer are, because we're going to be leading into the depths of how to actually package your value as we go. So here's what we're going to be covering, and I'm going to go through this really quickly so that we can keep moving forward. I want to have a progressive pace with you tonight because I do have a lot to cover. But before I go into the depths of this, why don't we just close our eyes, all of us together here, and just take a nice collective breath. So just relax your body and just ease into the breath. So using the nostrils, take a deep inhale. And then through the mouth, let's exhale like an HA. So let's do that again. Take a nice inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. One more time, inhale. And release. So perhaps you feel a little bit more grounded and settled. And like many of the students that I work with and practice this before we begin connecting to their messages and their voices on video, we connect to the breath to get really grounded, and it allows us mentally to focus. There's a lot of studies that have been done on that by the Harvard Business Review and the medical school at Harvard. And that's something you can check out as well. And it's probably something that many of you teach. So tonight, here is what we will be covering: how to create online products that are unique. Your services, your offers, your workshops that you're selling. How do you package that authentically? How do you evolve your message to attract a global audience? Many of you work offline locally. So how do you branch off and create a brand that attracts an audience globally? I'm going to be talking about that tonight. How do you expand your offline business into an online brand that creates leveraged income and automated sales? This isn't something that tonight I won't be speaking about that involves disconnection. It involves connection. It involves getting in touch with your message. So creating leveraged income and automated sales using connection. What does that really look like? Connecting with confidence, with your confidence to sell your value. So how do you connect to your confidence if you don't quite have that feeling of courage yet to step out, to do the things that you want to do on video, on a stage, in front of an audience, or just in general online? How do you get to that place? How do you connect internally to your value in a way that stays true to yourself, meaning you get to be you, and genuine with the people that you work with, your audience, your clients, your prospects, the people that you come into contact with, your collaborations? How do you stay true to yourself and really make a bigger impact financially as you start to sell your value? How do you create and use auto emails to generate qualified leads? A lot of people that I meet who use auto emails generate a lot of leads, prospects, potential clients that are not qualified. So they do a lot of work to have to, quote unquote, try to persuade or convince their clients to buy their products and services, and they end up wasting a lot of time. And that doesn't have to be the case for you. So how do you use auto emails that generate qualified leads? We'll be addressing this. How do you package all of it, all of your modalities, as we mentioned a moment ago, into one cohesive brand? What does that really look like? How do you develop a structure for your message that feels grounded, rooted, and supported? Meaning so that it's sustainable, so that you can express your creativity and your flow and be really out there with what you're offering, because a lot of you have such a beautiful way of expressing your creativity, but a lot of you are not quite making enough money as you're doing that. So you're having to do other types of work to create income that kind of keeps you held back in the thing that you really want to be doing. So the brand that I'm speaking about tonight allows you to actually harness, express your unique creativity while having a solid structure that feels grounded and supported so that you can have that sustainability and really make an impact. How do you be you in business and connect to your joy? That is what we are all seeking, as the Dalai Lama says, happiness, joy. We all innately want that. But how do you be you in business and connect to your joy while making money in a meaningful way? This is really the basis of what I will be addressing. It's at the foundation and the core of what I'll be covering tonight. And how do you connect to your voice to captivate your audience on video? A lot of you have seen my videos over the past 4 years, and it's what allows you to connect to your audience. But how do you do that? How do you get to that place with your voice to actually compel and captivate your audience? So I'm going to be going over these as well. We're looking at imagery, brand imagery. We have to connect visually with your audience. We use photography, and that is a main avenue, especially in marketing and advertising online. So how do you show up to a photo shoot? How do you show up feeling at ease and in flow and being unique and knowing how to internally show up to the photo shoot, being authentic? How do you do that? And how do you show that through the brand imagery? How do you connect logically to your audience? We're talking about online here, using text and copy. So when someone sees your imagery, they just love it. They want to click that button, but we can't trigger the wrong part of the brain. And I'll be addressing this in a moment as well. The part of the brain called the amygdala, which is the fight or flight part. So when we look at using words to attract our audience, a lot of people are in the archaic model still using websites and blogs, which I'm going to address throughout tonight, that it is not necessary to do this. But many people are just slapping tons and tons and tons of content on blogs and wondering why there's no sales happening. They don't have any way of attracting an email on their blog, or there's no real value. There's no video, there's no real imagery, and they're just slapping a ton of text. And that can cause a lot of people to feel overwhelmed. I'm one of those people, even being a writer and journalist. I feel very overwhelmed when I hit a blog page and there's tons of text there. So how do you use very succinct, compelling copy in your brand that allows you to really connect to your audience's neocortex, making the higher level decisions? But we really want to be mindful of how we're formulating our message through this way of communication. And this is a nuance. It's a nuanced approach that must be addressed. And many of you know that this is a weakness for you. So just note that. And you can jot that down now. You can jot down, okay, I've got my, checklist here, checking off your imagery. I've got that. I got really great images. Or, maybe you write a little X or a circle that you're not quite confident yet in front of the camera. And I'm going to mention one of our students, Karina, which many of you may have seen her videos that I've been working with on someone who came to Mike and I wanting to develop her branding authentically. And the first session I worked with her, she basically said she didn't want to do a photo shoot because she felt inauthentic and she was scared, very intimidated. And it was something that we worked through. And within weeks, she scheduled a shoot. And I'm going to show you some images a little bit later of what that shoot is and what she actually got out of the photo shoot and the confidence that came through. So let's do your checklist. This is your time now for you. Take the time, note where your weaknesses and your strengths are so that when we come to the conclusion at the end of how to actually brand you, there is an awareness of knowing what you need to focus on. So this third piece here of connecting emotionally, that's when in the video I said, can they feel you? So when we're watching videos, and I know a lot of you on Facebook, on YouTube, all over the internet, there's tons of videos now that are being used for advertising. And a lot of people are making a lot of money because they're compelling, because they know how to connect using their voice. And you know who those people are. Oprah is one of them. Tony Robbins is one of them. Deepak Chopra is one of them. There's a lot of holistic quality communicators who are doing very well, being very unique, didn't copycat anyone else, but came into their own voice and learned how to emotionally connect to their voice and to their audience. But how do you do that? How do you do that? I'm going to be asking you some questions as we go, real specific ones. How do you create unique offers and sales, which is your calls to action? So if you don't know where you're leading people and you're working off a blog or website now, or you're creating video content and it doesn't lead to anywhere, it leads to never ever land, how do you expect that that's actually going to transfer into sales? Effectively, sustainably not going to happen. So we always need to know where we're leading our audience. We always need to know what we're offering, our free offer to inform, to educate, to connect our value so people are aware of what we do. Free value is important. It's not everything, but it's a big part of it. And then how do we offer low-end offers and high-end offers? How do we know what to charge? And a lot of it involves really not copycatting other marketers out there, other professionals out there, which a lot of people that I have met over the years, thousands of people that have connected and were attracted to my message, many of them had purchased some $2,000 product from a marketer, and it was an online course that didn't lead them anywhere with no personal connection. So I'm going to be going over some of this with you, but there's a lot to note. So, we're wanting to open this up from a clear perspective, regardless of whether you've invested tens of thousands of dollars in other products and services before that have gotten you to the place of feeling like you are treading water or in quicksand. We've really got to connect now to the subtleties of what it takes to create your holistic brand. And it does involve trusting your voice. And I'm going to share with you the image here on the left with the woman that's clenching her stomach, and it looks like it's almost etched in with a pen, not good enough. So this was something that I personally dealt with at a very young age. I dealt with separation anxiety with my mom because my mom had emotional disturbances when her mother died of cancer, and then her father died, and then my uncle died, and all these people were dying, and she was not quite feeling at ease with life. And I remember I was 8 years old, and I couldn't even walk into elementary school without crying, throwing up, feeling like I just couldn't handle it because of the anxiety that I felt from my mom. And through that, there was a lot of rejection that I felt. There was a lot of not good enough that I felt. I didn't quite understand how I fit into the world because I always felt like my voice was of a different essence, meaning healing, not involved with the mundane way that they normally teach in school. I was not quite very excited about going to school in the traditional sense. Later, when I learned about Montessori and Waldorf and all those fun schools that are more involved with hands-on creativity and real experiential learning, I wish I could have reversed time and actually just gone to those types of schools. But I feel like the angst and the frustration that I went through allows me to now do what I do, helping thousands of people and personally helping hundreds develop out their meaningful businesses and authentic voices because of the anxiety and the frustration I went through back in school, and really not feeling good enough within myself because I felt a lot of rejection and discontent with who I really was based on how the world perceived me and wanted me to be. And it took me a while to step into my healer voice and to go through the corporate realm as I did for many, many, many years after college. But the image on the right here is a cage with an open door. And I always felt like I was in a cage with an open door, and I was just too scared to fly out because I felt not good enough. I didn't know how. I didn't know how to fly. I wasn't given the proper guidance to know how to fly on my own. And many of you also feel this way as well. And I know that because I've been connecting with people around the world for many years now who've shared with me this commonality. So for me, being you in business came through my brand, came through my Voice Asana brand, came through because I was able to work out and work through and really connect to, what is this really all about? How can I transmute this not good enough? That's not really me. How can I expose myself to the world and not feel like I'm trapped and caged in, yet knowing that I can leave at any time? How do I literally fly out of my cage when I don't know how? So this was the big question mark that I had for many years, many, many, many years. And I had an 11-year eating disorder. I went through a lot of anxiety and stress. But now let's look at what drives you. I know a lot of you have been through a lot, which is why you're healers, you're mentors, you're coaches, you're instructors of fitness and healing and health and nutrition and wellness. And you love to utilize that passion in a way that serves people, in a way that you get to just share, because having the experiences that you've had don't need to limit your growth consciously. It doesn't need to limit your relationships emotionally. It doesn't need to limit your abundance financially. It can be the catalyst if you allow it to be, if you allow it to be what drives you in both your life and your business. So I have some contrasting images up here, as you see, and I've done that on purpose. And I want to ask you, and you can write this down, I suggest you to do that. What really drives you? I always felt very angry when I knew about what was happening, even though I didn't really know about what was happening on a political scale. But I could just feel it intuitively. And I know a lot of you are that way too. A lot of you here, if not all of you, you consider yourselves sensitive or intuitive. So I just felt that with the war and the oil and the guns and the machinery and the GMOs and exiling the Dalai Lama, all of that. It's just, what is that? And how do we not get stumped? How do we not let that destroy our ability as healers in the world? I suffered for a long time after feeling like money was dirty, and I evolved out of that into understanding money consciousness and evolving through that, working through that. But a lot of people that I work with who, again, are attracted to this message that I offer, they are also very sensitive to making money in this way and charging as a healer, or really opening out your branding and really being authentic and genuine without feeling like it's wrong. So tonight, I'm inviting you into this world that it's okay, that you are good enough, that you are worthy of stepping forward as a healer and charging for your worth. People like Gandhi and the Dalai Lama, they may not be collecting a paycheck, but by all means, Gandhi had aristocrats supporting him. He had people with money helping him out. He knew high influential people, and he lived a modest life, as many of you know. Dalai Lama, he flies around the world. He stays in hotels. How does he make his money? He receives donations. This is something that you can do. You don't have to be like the Dalai Lama. Obviously, it's wonderful to aspire to living with compassion and healing and mindfulness in business. But I'm getting to the point here that it's okay to accept money or donations for your nonprofit, or even turn your for-profit business into a subsidiary nonprofit. This is what we do with a lot of our students that we work with. So you can be the healer, but I think the question now for you is really connecting to what drives you so that you know how to start making that shift and it becomes a daily practice. Because as you know, as a holistic practitioner, that the daily practice is what it's all about. So along with what drives you, what inspires you? What inspires you to do the holistic things that you love to do? Do you offer Reiki and healing and energy work? What inspires you to do that? What inspires you to keep doing that? Now, a lot of you have an offline practice doing that and you physically work on people. I did that for many years successfully, and I tapped out because I could only work with X amount of people in a day. At the end of the week, I was tapped energetically. I could only meet with so many people. I was driving all around Miami, Florida. Traffic, if you know Miami, horrific. And I wasn't quite reaching the people that I wanted to reach. I had billionaire CEO type clients. I visited and worked in the most exclusive mansions, people that had Bentleys and Maseratis and horses and yachts and lived on the ocean, and it was nice. I felt egoically important for a few moments, and then I had that at the pit of my stomach, that yuck feeling that I wasn't quite owning up to who I really was. Now, in order for me to transition from the offline healing work and coaching that I did, physically working with people, I also worked with drug and alcohol addicts and people with heroin addictions. And I taught in a college and university for many years. People came to me to connect their mind and body. I called it my mindful body production course, mindful body awareness. And many of you offer offline workshops and live trainings, and this is something that you can work into your action plan. It's something you can work into the branding. But if it's the only thing that you offer and you don't have any other way of making leveraged income, what ends up happening, like I assume from the people I've spoken to and myself, is that at the end of the day, week, month, year after year after year, you kind of lose that spark. You kind of lose that connection to what inspires you to be the healer, and you feel kind of burnt out. And I remember when I was sick, when I was physically sick, a sinus infection or whatever it was, strep throat, I remember I fought so hard to try not to be sick. I couldn't even give myself a sick day because if I didn't show up, I wasn't going to get paid. And I know a lot of you have that as well. If you don't show up for your client physically, then of course you need to reschedule with them. So how do you create leveraged income where that's not an issue anymore and where you don't physically burn out and energetically feel like you're not inspired to do this? So just take a moment and go ahead and write down what inspires you to practice the holistic modalities that you want or that you do offer and provide. What inspires you to do that? And what inspires you to be that kind of healer? Here's a picture of Bernie Sanders here, who I and Mike Klingler, we are in love with Bernie's message, and it is a movement. And this inspires us. It inspires us to have hope and trust that things will will be okay in the world. And the connection to feeling like something beyond just yourself, beyond just you, is possible to help this movement of healing the world and making a really big influence and a difference like the Dalai Lama has. And he has said in videos, I just watched the other day a documentary where he says, I'm just a human being. I'm not special. I just show up. I just show up. I just connect. That's what he said. So how do you do that? How do you just show up and just connect? I just really briefly, not going to go into it. A lot of you ask me what my background is. I was trained in college as a professional writer. I always was a writer since 8 years old. I was actually published for many, many years as a featured writer in magazines and newspapers. I had a TV show that won an award in Florida and Miami. I created a lot of live classes that I taught, as I mentioned, in colleges and universities. Very successful in that way. I made over $300 an hour physically doing body work and healing people that would come to me. I would not go out and attack people and get clients. People would naturally come to me just because of how driven I was and how inspired I was to do that kind of work. And as I mentioned to you, I did get a lot of burnout. But my corporate experience is very large. I worked for very high-level magazines, and I was miserable. I had my quote-unquote dream job as a child. It was my dream job, and I was just absolutely miserable, and I felt completely just disgusted with myself that I didn't know how to do the things that I do now at that time. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't internally feel like I was ready for it. I didn't know what I even needed to be ready for it. So most recently, I've learned how to really utilize all of this the past 8 to 10 years specifically in my life, moving away from the disorderly behaviors of using, these emotional connections to money in a disconnected way, abusing food, abusing my relationships, abusing myself, really connecting to my value and being able to do yoga and meditation and apply that work with the work I do now with business, helping people create authentic brands. And this is totally possible for you to combine all of the modalities, all of the experiences you've had, all of the passions that you have, all of the holistic modalities to turn all of that into a brand that makes an impact and that helps you monetize as you do. So how do you really connect? How do you really connect? There's disconnected marketing out there. A lot of you know what that looks like. Sex sells is a very powerful tagline. The media is very much needing healing. And a lot of why I got into journalism initially, as I mentioned to you, being a writer and editor, I got into journalism because I wanted to heal the media. And unfortunately, in the avenues that I chose, I actually worked in government for a while too. I couldn't quite do what I wanted. I even had a job in a university after I graduated in the marketing department. I did a lot. I did a lot, like many of you. And I thought, okay, now's my chance. I worked under the president of a university. Now's my chance to make a big influence in this big university that has a lot of influence. It didn't happen. Did not happen. So we want to move into, I mentioned before, reaching the part of the brain that it's called crock talk. We have to avoid using provocative images like sex, a lot of, physical, showing off your body in a way that provokes a certain way of attraction. These are the things that we want to move away from to heal our media and help heal the world. But we still need to connect. All information passes through the reptilian, the primitive part of the brain, the brainstem. It goes into the, again, like I mentioned, the amygdala in the middle part of the brain, and then up into the neocortex to make higher level decisions, which For many people, it may never get there. But our information, your role, your job is to create a brand and connect with your imagery, with your copy, with your videos, with your offers, the 4 components that Mike and I teach in the branding groups, to apply all of that, to hone all of that and package what you offer so that the information passes through the brainstem, goes through the amygdala without triggering fight or flight, and then up into the neocortex so that people actually get to understand and value what you're offering. Again, this is true for everyone. It is true for everyone. I used to speak from that spiritual perspective, and I only used to speak from the neocortex, the higher level speaking. I thought, I'm a spiritual healer. This was years ago. I am a professional writer. I don't need to speak to the croc brain. I don't need to do that. I'm beyond that. And of course, yes, ego. I had to work through that, and it was painful. My physiology had to shift. I had to change how I perceived myself, and it took some time, and I worked through it, and now I'm able to teach it. And I do so very brilliantly with the work that Mike and I have put together in our private groups. I've put a voice asana course together. Mike put a very powerful marketing funnel mastery course together. And together, when we connect with our students personally and intimately work with them, we get to really do this work and do some really great stuff. So if you don't have personal support, if you don't have the right kind of guidance and mentorship and coaching and real leadership and the peer level support that you need, it's going to be really difficult for you to do this, to really connect. It's going to come across trite or pretentious or disconnected or feeling like it's a presentation and not really moving your audience, not really speaking with them, not really understanding. So I know some of you are scared, and I know some of you don't have the right high-level communication skills that some other people have that make a lot of money, that do great things. And that's why Mike and I do what we do, so that you can get there. You can work through your communication, through all of the glitches and gaps, all of the feelings of not good enough or not understanding your value or not really knowing how to package yourself and connect with your audience. All of that is something that you want to just ease into. You don't want to copycat anyone else. You don't want to model someone else's success. You want to learn how to really connect to your success and what that means to you. So I mentioned to you a list earlier of things that we're going to cover this evening, and I'm going to break it down for you tonight. There's 10 of them, and I want to share with you how you actually get visibility and create authentic attraction. And I think out of all the years and all the students I've worked with, all the people I've really connected with on their branding and messaging, it really comes down to getting visibility and having authentic attraction. And by authentic, I don't mean Donald Trump authentic, even though that's great for Donald Trump being authentic as who he is. I mean authentic in a way that's mindful. So authentic to some people, maybe treating people not so compassionately. Tonight, what I'm referring to, and whenever you hear me connected to authenticity, I also mean as well mindful compassion. So how do you get visibility and create a mindful, compassionate, authentic attraction in your business and your brand? Number one, to generate unique services and content, which is not anything that we're just focused on only and solely, because you could have the best book, you could have the best workshop, you could offer the best course in town or in the world, literally, and you could have all of the most amazing content in the world on your website or blog. But it's also about marketing that content and about knowing how to sell it with authenticity. And it's also about making it unique. So in order to create unique services and content, we first have to have clarity in your message. A lot of people that I've met over the years Not so much lately because my message has evolved as well and been innovated along the way as my communication has improved doing the work that I do. It's mostly about finding the clarity in your message before anything else. A lot of people build websites and blogs and they don't even know how to connect their message to anyone. If you don't know how to speak to somebody about their message, to someone like me about your message, how are you going to do that effectively in a blog, a website, or on a video? So you've got to have clarity in knowing exactly what your message is. And that's the most important piece in order to generate unique services and content, which later, as I mentioned, leads into knowing how to market that effectively. Number two, attract globally. A lot of you have offline businesses, holistic businesses, and you go by word of mouth, and it's really hard. So how do you attract on a global scale? Well, you've got to have connection to your message. So after we have the clarity, we've got to have connection internally to our message and with our audience. So we've got to connect with who we are, what we offer, what our value is, and with knowing how to actually then demonstrate that and communicate that effectively with our audience. How do you, number three, develop a brand with leveraged income? Well, this is all about a marketing funnel structure. And you could Google it right now if you don't know what a marketing funnel is, or if you know what a marketing funnel is and you haven't quite mastered having it, an online marketing funnel, then you know it's more than just information. And Tony Robbins says it's only 20% mechanics, right? So 80% physiology. Well, when I look at the 80% physiology, I look at all of the other stuff that we're connecting with, the connection to your message, your audience, you, your voice, and how you're delivering the content and marketing it with your own unique value. But when we're looking at the marketing funnel structure, this is a very important piece, and without it, you're lost and you won't have leveraged income, so it's necessary. But again, it's only about 20% or perhaps less in the grand scheme of things. You can go and get information, as I said, but in order to really create leveraged income and having a marketing funnel structure that really works to give you the income that you want, automated, all of that, automated marketing funnels, it's really about knowing how to connect, again, to your message with your audience and have clarity in what that means for you and for them. So it's not just about the information. If you build it, they will not come. It's not like that. You've got to learn how to actually sell it. So that leads us into, well, how do you sell it? Number four, having confidence to be you and to sell your value. And that's all about honing in and owning. So I say hone and own, and two separate words. So you've got to hone in and own your value in order to have the confidence to be you in business and to sell and make the abundance that you want, to have financial success, which could mean whatever it is for you. Very different for me than for you, and that's fine. But we need to know what that's like. What does that really mean for you? If I were to ask you right now personally, is selling, is that a trigger word for you? Sell. Is that a trigger word? For many of you it is, and for many of you, you've worked through it and it may not be. But if it is a trigger word, then we don't want to move forward and start creating anything until we've worked through this piece. And if you're not working with anyone personally on that, then that is where I suggest professionally that you begin. And that's part of what I would say is grounded, foundational level success. In order to succeed and have confidence so that you can sell and hone in your value, you've got to be comfortable with selling. You've got to be comfortable with selling your value. And I know a lot of you who are marketers or network marketers or in MLMs, met a lot of you out there, and you may be very confident in selling other people's products and services, but not your own. And you haven't, a lot of Beachbody coaches, Isogenics, a lot of people offer great products. Those things are great. Really powerful products that you sell, but for you to actually connect to your own story, to your own value, a little treacherous for you. So this is where we want to begin. So again, if you're taking notes, note that. Oops, trigger. So this is where you want to work. Number 5, generating quality leads. As I mentioned to you earlier, a lot of people can get leads, but in order to attract and generate quality leads, you need to generate and have genuine auto emails. So your emails need to be genuine. You need to know how to formulate, I mentioned earlier, your copy and your text, what you say in words. You need to learn how to formulate your message effectively using words in a way that doesn't trigger people's amygdala, and to be genuine. You don't want to copycat anyone else. You don't want to mimic anyone else. And you don't want to use a script, a dummy script that is the silliest thing in the whole wide world. It's got to come from you. Now, I can give you a structure to follow. I can give you a grounded platform to speak from. I can give you all of the tools and can support you, but I would never, ever, ever tell you, and this is something I've written about too, to never memorize a script or read off a teleprompter, never to memorize how you're going to say things. It's got to come innately from an organic way of you relating the message to your audience, and the auto emails as well. The most successful emails that I've ever written that have gotten the greatest results and attracted the most amazing women that I've been able to support and work with, some of them I see here tonight, hello, hello. The emails have come from me just letting go of anything that I've been thinking about in my head and really just connecting to the things I spoke to you a moment ago about not wanting war, about children dying just relentlessly, about connecting to people like Bernie Sanders and the Dalai Lama, and people who are doing great things. Daniel Goleman, emotional intelligence, really connecting. Well, how did they do it? How did they step into their own unique messaging? Daniel Goleman, who wrote the book, The Power with the Dalai Lama, he wrote the book to use the force for good. And the Dalai Lama had said, basically, anger is okay. Anger can be used as fuel. He said, I'm very angry, and that's why I'm so successful and potent and able to communicate, because I'm passionate and because I turn my anger into the fuel that I now serve people with. So all of that has to come through in your auto emails. The stuff that I see from a lot of people out there who claim to do great because they have a lot of people on their email list, well, it doesn't mean anything. And Seth Godin actually talks about this too. He's a great educator, Seth Godin. He also said that it's not about how many people you have on your list, but about how many people actually buy from you, and how many people are influenced by you, and how many people you actually feel connected with. I'm adding the later. So Seth Godin added the first two things. So to have quality leads attracted to your brand here, all of this is about you and your holistic brand. To have the visibility and authentic attraction, you have to know how to connect to all of this. But again, logically, yes, we need to write auto emails, but it's got to come from the heart. It's got to come from that place within you that just, you just have to connect. And that's why I asked you those questions earlier. What's your desire to make a difference, and what inspires you to do the healing work that you do? You've got to connect to that, not from a headspace, but from an internal place, really, really deep within. Number 6, connect with them. So we're not a talking head, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's so much stuff out there, and a lot of people don't know how to connect with their audience. You've got to learn how to connect with your audience, which involves developing real relationships, not just having online content that talks a good talk and leaves people hanging after promising them a lot, but knowing how to develop real relationships, personal relationships, or even personalize your auto emails, personalize your marketing funnel, personalize the products you offer after you realize who you're working with. after you study who your audience is. And these are all things that Mike and I support our students with. So number 7, many of you, I assume, are here tonight because you want to package all of this holistically into a brand. And that involves being you. You've got to brand you. You've got to brand you. Many people that have come to me for support and help, I have not enrolled them. And I want to let all of you know that Mike and I don't enroll everyone that comes to us. We must be very mindful with who we work with. We must be very careful. We are very sensitive individuals. We feel things energetically, like many of you do. We've got to be careful with who we choose into our world. So we work so intimately with our students that at this moment, we're very careful with who we enroll and who we work with. So for you, this is very important. How do you work with only those people that you're so inspired to work with? How do you know how to package yourself in all of the modalities holistically so that you're able to offer in a packaged form, all of the things into one brand? How do you do that so that you're attracting the right types of people? Well, you've got to brand you. And these are things that, again, I'm going to be speaking a little bit more this evening as we start to hone in on the grounded elements here and all of the areas that we support people with personally. So number 8, a grounded structure, grounding into your message, again, to be creative and in your flow, and to have sustainability, because a lot of you, many of my students had this happen. They spent, one of them I'm thinking of, she spent $11,000 on her website and a year later realized, oh, he didn't make it responsive to fit my iPhone because he started it before all of the new tools and gadgets were out. So now I have to pay him, he's asking me another $6,000 up front to make it now work on an iPhone. That doesn't make sense, right? So many of you want that sustainability. You don't have to call a web guy or programmer or coder. And in order to do that, you need to work with simple tools. A lot of you are working with very complex tools. You think what the market says out there is what you need. It's absolutely not true. People with very large audiences even, they're selling these products that you just don't need. Mike and I have a large audience. We're purposefully reducing the size of it so that we can only work with those who we're really inspired to work with. Yes, we want to help as many people as possible, but we want to connect with those people. We don't just want people drooling or just following us without taking action. We really want to help make a difference in the world, and we're doing it. And in order to do that, we need to use simple tools without any technical know-how. The tools that I use, what you saw my video on today and in the past 3.5, 4 years, the simple tools that I use with my marketing funnel, I created with Mike. Don't need a programmer, don't need a designer, a developer. Focus only on those 4 components, as I mentioned to you earlier: imagery, text, video, and your offers and calls to action. If you're not using simple tools, it's going to be really hard. I created the marketing funnel the way that we did because I was wasting so much time and energy, and literally I get overwhelmed when I'm online having to do things that are just so technically, off the chart. I want to focus my time and energy on helping people and serving people in a bigger way. So of course, I don't want to be fussing around online. I even purchased with Mike, we got a different email system. Right now we're using iContact, and we purchased another one. And it was marketed very well, and we just thought we would try it just to see as well. Mike and I test a lot of different things to let our students know what's good and what isn't, and we're very honest with what is and what isn't, what's necessary and what's not necessary. So Mike is always innovating, and he always knows he always has known from the very beginning, back in 1996, he's been on top of everything in the marketing world and online business. So when we're talking about utilizing an online space and having a web presence that's successfully attracting people and that has visibility, if you're not using simple tools, you're wasting time and you're wasting money. If you have under 1 million followers, Okay, maybe if you have under 500,000 followers, you can get away without having a website or a blog. You need to use simple tools. It's what Mike and I use, and it's very effective. Number 9, finding joy and results meaningfully. So joy. A lot of people, I think about one of our students, Rose, who did some voice asana work with me, and one of her words was joy. So how do you connect with joy and also have results, which for some people feels yucky inside when we think about results? How do you have meaning with what you're doing as you're having joy and results? Well, what I and Mike put together is what we teach in what we do with our students. It's called the 3 P's of practice. You have personal, peer, and professional practice. Personal practice is you're a yoga instructor, you're a holistic healer, you do acupuncture, you teach Ayurvedic healing, you're a coach, you're a naturopath, you do Reiki. And by the way, you also are a massage therapist too. So all of that is great, but most people do that personal practice and it's all good, but then they jump over to the 3rd P, which is professional practice, and they start to charge for their services. At first, they're charging, it's going well, but they hit a cap, they hit a limit, they realize, wait a minute, kind of tapped out, word of mouth isn't really working, I don't really know what I'm doing. They build a website or a blog, realize, I don't know how this works, I don't know how to create marketing funnels authentically. And then they go back and they take another course. They take another spiritual course or another coaching course that's nuanced in acupuncture or Reiki or something very unique that they fell in love with, which again, it's all good. But then they go back to professional practice to try to charge for it. Most people, if not 99%, of the professionals I meet miss peer practice. And by peer practice, I don't mean a Toastmasters group. I don't mean having a mentor group of your friends that meet for coffee or drinks once a month or twice a month. This is a community that Mike and I have built. Mike started back in the day from 96 on and building his empathy economy. And he's been really honed in on his vision for many years. I as well have been focusing on holistic wellness and fitness and yoga and meditation and healing after overcoming my corporate catastrophe, which has led me to a lot of great things, but realizing it wasn't for me, that world. So as we work on peer practice, I'm going to share with you actually what that looks like. And I see one of the students here, Karina, who again, many of you have maybe seen on videos, and I'm going to see if she's available to connect. So Karina, if you can chat in just a moment, I'm going to share some videos of you with the people who are here today, many of who I have never connected with personally. So I think seeing and hearing from someone that I've worked with, that Mike's worked with, that the community has supported, and hearing from someone other than just me connecting to this message, I think it's very helpful. So Karina, if you can just hang on tight for just a bit, that would be wonderful for you to just share some insights with the people here. Number 10, captivating using your voice. So how do you captivate your audience? It's not just, oh great, I recorded video. I did it, it's done. Look, I did it. That's not what it's about. You have to learn how to captivate your audience, how to compel them, to move them to enter their email, download your book, buy your products and services. How are you using your voice? Your voice is not just what you're saying, because that's important. You want to make sense. You want to be succinct and clear with your communication. But how do you speak? How do you use your voice? How are you being communicated through the airwaves, through the frequency, your vibration? How is it transcending out there? What does that feel like? You've got to be mindful of that. Video and brand presence is really, that's really what all of this is leading into, so that your brand presence is honed in on your value, so that the attraction, the authentic attraction, is coming because You've learned how to market yourself effectively for visibility, and you've learned how to attract authentically to then hone in all of it for the brand presence that then makes a difference, helps you make your income, and really fulfills you at the end of the day. So again, clarity and message, connecting to your confidence, packaging your value, knowing what you're creating, marketing your value, creating that automated structure, and then selling. Maybe it's not so much a trigger word anymore right now as we've gone through this, selling your value authentically. So I'm going to give you an example of using voice, and I'm going to see how it feels for you. I'm going to ask you to just note it for yourself. So selling your value. I'm saying these words, but I'm using my voice in a certain way. Selling your value. I'm using my voice with the same words. You've got to be mindful. If you want to attract and create visibility, you've got to be mindful with your voice. So again, simple tools, unique messaging, the imagery for your branding to attract and connect, authentically being you, and your voice. Just gave you a quick demo there. So I'm just going to go over this really quickly, and I'm going to then open it up to Karina for just a moment, because I know it's getting late out there on the East Coast. I'm on Pacific time here. So what does visibility look like? Here's a video that I posted here on Mike's page back on November 9th, so not too long ago, and it already has 58,000 views since November 9th. 58,000 views since November 9th. So that's visibility. It's also attraction. It's also knowing how to market yourself and knowing how to use social media properly. You don't need to go off and do all the bells and whistles with social media to be effective. Just choose one and work it. Work it well. Know what works for your audience. A lot of people come to me and they say, oh yeah, I want to learn all the social media. I want to learn this and this and this and this, Periscope and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and in all these ways. It's just so overwhelming. No wonder why they're not making money. No wonder why it's difficult for them. It's just anxious and anxiety. Yeah, I don't want that. So choose one avenue that works well for you, or two, and stick to it and get really good at it and know what works and have a really good structure in place. So this was an image I did a snapshot many months ago, so I'm sure it's grown since then, that has over 4,000 likes, 156 comments, and this one really surprised me, 2,663 shares. And this was something, a poem that I wrote, Naked in Compassion, showing up to the role as you, to take a bold choice to be vulnerable and free. And this was something many years that I wrote many years back and decided to post it to connect more to my vulnerability with my audience. Free your mind, open our world. And I think, in order to have visibility, you've got to be vulnerable. And I'm going to address that in a moment here. So I'm just going to run through this. And this video class today is going to be recorded as well, this webinar, so you can tune in again. So what does visibility look like? Clarity and confidence. Having an action plan, knowing what you're doing when you wake up and what you're going to do the next day to lead you into your longer term goals 25 years down the road. The people who connect with me live know that the first thing I do, the action step I give you, is to develop out a very succinct action plan with me so that I can see where your goals are, to see if I can help you. Having a vision and always coming back to your vision. What does that look like? What do you want to be doing? What do you want to offer? Who do you want to work with? What is that all about? You need to know what your vision is before you start creating stuff. Your message. What is your message? What are you offering? What are you all about? What do you do? What do you provide? What do you offer? And your voice. How do you compel people by using your voice? Your voice can also be in text and also in imagery. How do you use connection? What forms of connection are you using? Are you coaching people? Are you putting videos out? Are you doing live speaking engagements? Do you write a book? And how do you connect that with your audience effectively? How do you tap into mindful authenticity? So how do you be really genuine and be you? How do you do that in your branding? Developing relationships, again, as I mentioned earlier. Having novel content, being different. A lot of you create things that may not be quite as unique as you'd like them to be. So it's something that you really want to start discovering what that would look like for you, and creating content, workshops, trainings, courses, offers, services, all of that into something that's really unique and different and novel. Sustainability, something that is going to sustain you. Something you create now will be sustained a year from now, so that you can know how to innovate your marketing funnel and your brand. The branding that I created 4 years ago can still apply today, and it's evolving. The people that were attracted to Mike 10 years ago still follow him. Someone called us that had followed him 8 years ago, who enrolled in our school recently. 8 years she was following Mike. 8 years. So there's sustainability that you've got to develop in your branding that allows you to make the lifestyle goals achievable for you, and to help people to really make a difference. Marketing effectively, that's obvious. So as I mentioned, not just about having great content, but knowing how to market that effectively. How do you sell that? How do you use your voice to sell what you put together? That's awesome. Leveraged income, again, the marketing funnel structure, creating leveraged income, making money in an automated way so that you're not physically working with people, but that you're able to connect with your audience and make money through your videos and through your online courses and trainings. Having a structure to support you, and as well being inspired and inspiring people as well. What does attraction look like? Well, it looks like changing the world in a big way. This video that I created down here, it was up for about, I think, 2 months or so, and had over 289,000, so almost 290,000 views on this video about the Dalai Lama saying the Western women will save the world. And I addressed that, and we're working with an amazing group of women who are attracted to this message. And it's something that you can do. It's something that you can do to attract people and to have that visibility. So are you being different, novel, unique? Are you staying true to yourself? Are you connecting to your message? Are you being succinct and clear on video and with your presence? Are you compelling people with your voice? Are you confident in how you're showing up and feeling like you're leading them with confidence? Do you feel that way now? Or are you feeling like you really need to develop a little more confidence as a leader in what you really want to be doing and offering? Does your audience resonate with your message? Or is it difficult for them to really connect to it? Do they really get it? Do they really feel it? And I'm going to be sharing with you Karina's images in just a bit here. So for those of you who want to hear Karina, I'll be opening it up in just a second. So what does support really look like? Here are some students now I'm going to be sharing with you. Lena here, she does ayahuasca. She does shaman healing with herbs. And she talked to Mike and I before joining our branding group back in August. And she talked a little bit about feeling like it was taboo. And she didn't know how to show up on video. She'd never done it before. She has an offline herbal practice. And she didn't know how to come on video because it was so taboo. So as we're working with her, she's really starting to formulate this message, connect to what her audience is asking for, and to connect in a way of the not feeling good enough, moving beyond that, and knowing that her audience is craving more of this. They want to learn about the plant energy and the healing modalities of plants and herbs. And how does she really communicate that message? That's what we're working out. So maybe you think you have a taboo message that is difficult to get on video. Well, this is great. It's what we can work through. Bernadette is fantastic. I showed you one of her images before about the waistband. She's been practicing voice asana because a few of her videos, when she started practicing, She was speaking very fast. She's very compelling as a speaker. So when I connected her with some of the voice asana work and let her know to really slow down, using our breath, doing that practice, she just nailed it. She absolutely nailed it. And Karina here says, I can feel you and I would love to follow you to find my way. Melissa says, love your greatness and way. I feel your energy and message. Awesome job. So support is so important. And that's what our community offers as well. Brooke Lyons, Dr. Brooke says, I want to share this video I posted to my business page today so no one else goes through this. The support here has been truly beautiful. We're all human. So she's connecting to her vulnerability, and she got a lot of comments as well. And, this is just great. Brooke is realizing the value of having a supportive community to allow her to connect to her audience in a big way. And Brooke's a chiropractor who left the offline world in her wellness studio physically to move online and offer her products not just as a chiropractor, but as someone in the healing arts, as a mentor, mom in the holistic health fields, and as a public speaker. She also wrote a book and has started getting public speaking engagements and doing that as well, which she never did before. So this is something she learned here. Catherine here, she just enrolled the other day. Catherine is a beautiful woman who has been through Lyme disease. And one of her intentions with working with Mike and I in our community is to share with people what she went through, to help them in knowing that they don't need to be held back from their lives, that there is hope. There is hope. And she's showing some images here of when she was at a low point and when she was suffering from Lyme disease. So a lot of what she's going to be doing is very vulnerable, very connected with her audience, very intimately, very, very intimately. Now, if you're afraid to show up and post something like this, that's okay. We can get there. We can move to this place soon, eventually, someday, one day, if that's an intention of yours, to share your message. This is something Catherine, years and years ago, she couldn't quite understand how to package this. And that's what she's now doing, holistically building the brand so that other people can be healed and understand how to take action and not suffer like she did. And of course, she's now getting in touch with the vulnerability on her end by using images and words that compel her audience. I want to share with you on that note, courage, vulnerability, and visibility. I also created a very vulnerable post. I was so shy in elementary school, I couldn't walk to the classroom door without crying. I mentioned that to you before, that I had that anxiety when my grandmother died because my mom had not really understood how to emotionally connect. So I think it's very powerful to see all these people who connected with this. Over 930 people liked this post, 68 shares, over 70 comments. This is something that got visibility, but again, it involved me having the courage to step out and say something like this, which I don't talk about this every day, but it's something that I bring into the branding, to be vulnerable and to be really real. And I connect, as I mentioned to you, that you'll need to do in your emails, to really just connect to your heart space and, not showing up where you're posting selfies all day long and showing off how great you are, but showing up, not just showing off, but showing up for the people who you're here to serve. Here is a student, Jenny, who is in the branding group with Karina, and the two of them have been going through massive growth transformations. This first video 5, which moves into video 6, we were doing a video challenge recently this month. So Jenny wrote Spirit Warrior, this visual of a feather that I had worked with Jenny on a webinar on one of our sessions, and I intuitively guided her to feeling the feather energy, which is actually part of something deep within her that she's always been connected to. So she was actually practicing her videos with the feather in mind, and it allowed her to really trust herself. She said, I'm near a breakthrough. I'm flowing and less. And she says, I'm flowing less than before in my message, but I'm facing all fear with courage. So she's feeling not so mundane in the way that she's speaking, not just saying stuff to say stuff. And sometimes we can feel like we're in a flow when we're really not being succinct. And sometimes being succinct feels like we're out of our flow because we're being succinct. that was true for me as well as Jenny here. So she said, but I'm facing it all with courage. And she got a lot of comments here. And then the next video, she said, still a bit in my head. As you see, she's being vulnerable, she's connecting, but I can feel something new, a higher level of purpose about to explode out of me. Spirit warrior courage. So I don't even know if you can tell in her presence here, but she's connecting and she's practicing. So I mentioned to you before, this is part of the feedback that you get in the groups when you work with Mike and I, but the peer group, the peer support, that's the second P, peer practice. Jenny is awesome. She owns a spa and a healing center in Orlando, Florida. She's absolutely amazing. She does healing, massage therapy, Reiki. She does a lot of amazing things. She owns a spa. She's been successful. She's gone through a bad divorce. She has young children that she loves. She runs a business and has employees. She wanted to be more authentic and show up in her brand in a way that she didn't quite know how to do before, and she's now working through it. If Jenny had taken her personal practice, which she's phenomenal at, moved into professional practice with these videos, she would not have the confidence. She would probably stop and not even want to be on video anymore because the results wouldn't be there. You've got to, learn how to use the peer element. The second P, peer practice, is really where many of you are missing having that confidence, knowing that you can do this, that it can work for you, that you can ultimately do what you want, even if you don't know what that is yet or what it looks like holistically. This is something that is going to be new for Jenny. Her new online presence is evolving as she keeps going deeper into her message, her voice, her offers. This is something so powerful that's going beyond now just her. She's not just staying stuck in her offline spa and healing center. She's taking her message globally on a new scale with her holistic message as a healer. And this is something new. It's something new she's never created before, so it's going to feel a little awkward. And Lanita, many of you may have seen Lanita, who is doing a crowdfunding campaign. She's in Australia. She has gotten a lot of feedback and experience by posting in the group. She worked with me on her voice. She's moving through vulnerability. She's shifting, letting go of stuck energy. She feels honored to be here. Incredible people. She's just in gratitude. And she's doing it. She's really doing it. Her message is to reach young women in Australia to connect people who've gone through trauma, abuse, any kind of negativity with sexual abuse or being abused as a child, which she has experienced. So there's some really cool empathy people here. You've got Christiane, you have Leanne, who's moving from corporate to healing. You have Melissa, all these people, as you can see here, they're working through their messaging and their branding, getting confidence and clarity. So what does confidence really look like in your brand? Well, let's hear from Karina just for a moment. I'm Karina, not going to keep you too much longer. I know you have a son and have a career as well. So let's just connect for a moment. Let me open it up to you just for a moment.
Can you hear me now?
Hello.
Hi. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Ah, how was your day today?
Yeah.
Was it a travel day or were you grounded?
It was a good day. I did my corporate job from home today. I just finished teaching a yoga class at my home studio, my passion. And I had fun recording my videos today in the video challenge. And I really feel that being part of this group has really evolved me to hone in on my message and my clarity and to have fun with it again. I heard you mention before about all the tools and getting stuck in the tools. That was me. I was spending more time on websites and blogs, and I was overwhelmed. And I come from the corporate world, like 23 years in corporate world. So if I was overwhelmed, I can't even imagine people that don't have that background. So for me, finding this group and the peer support has just been, I think I said it before, like it's such a blessing to be here and to evolve to a new level that I never thought that I could. Um, and having fun. I told you, Robyn, when we first met, I was just about to pack in this side of me because I was getting frustrated. I wasn't getting the results and I wasn't having fun anymore. And I felt like I couldn't reach anybody. So, thank you for having me in the group and the opportunity. It's been such a blessing so far.
Hmm. You are very welcome, and I always share how grateful I am for your gratitude because that does go very far when we're working together, having that open sense of
Mm-hmm.
gratitude.
Yeah.
So, Karina, I was going to mention to all of you here that she did this photo shoot after really working on her messaging and her voice and doing a video challenge I mentioned you a moment ago that we did. So there's a lot of practice, but it's fun, it's energizing, it's rewarding, it's confidence, it's self-assurance, it's financial abundance, it's knowing that whatever you decide to do, you can do it. And you can do it successfully and you can have joy. And, Karina was mentioning she was literally ready to give up, to pack her bags with her business because she invested into a blog that didn't work. And she thought that she couldn't do it. She thought she couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think, when we connected, I felt like I talked a lot about kind of what I did, Ayurveda and yoga, but I wasn't really connecting to the audience. I wasn't really talking to my audience. I was talking about the knowledge that I had. And going through your voice asana and the support in the group and the compassion and feedback that we gain as part of this group is priceless. In fact, I don't think you guys charge enough for this, to be honest. It is priceless. The pain that I went through for a whole year and a half trying to get my business up and going with all the tools, no one to talk to, no feedback. Yes, friend feedback, but it's way different than all the professionals and folks that you have available to talk things out, to have that personal chat with you and Mike to help us, not give us our message, but help us work out our message. And I found my message being part of this group. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. It was always within you, and I think a lot of times it just takes knowing how to speak to that part, which that's what I do. I'm able to speak to that part that's within you that is able to quiet, as you know, quiet the mind and settle in. What is your core message? What is your holistic brand? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And really work through all the uncomfortable awkwardness, which you did feel, like many of us do. But I think what
Mm-hmm.
was very powerful for you was that you, like some people they can't do this because they're in a mode of seeking and chaos, like your message is to moving through that chaos. But a lot of times what I feel that most people don't do that you did was that you decided to believe in yourself, you decided to believe in your message after having that clarity I mentioned before earlier in this call, the clarity that has to arise and come through to know how to connect to your audience. And you mentioned something on that session with me a couple weeks ago where you said you decided to show up for them. So let's let's just kind of close the energy now with that message, because I think a lot of times when people are building their branding and they're doing their photography and they're working on their courses and they're and a lot of people who write books as well, they're doing it for themselves in a way, and they don't quite understand how to shift into that them being able to create the content and show up in the photo shoot like you did brilliantly for your
Mm-hmm.
audience. So share with us what that was like.
Yeah, I think I was really showing up. I made it about me, which is funny because I'm a healer and I care about others, but I was so focused on me, and not in a knowingly way, just focused on me, focused on um, the way I was putting my message out there. And you made me think about why did I start this? Why do I have this passion inside of me? Where does it come from? And it's to really get out of my own way and show up for everybody else. Show up for the people that I want to work with. Show up for the people in the way that I transformed myself. And I did transform myself from chaos to clarity by accepting who I was, accepting the message that I want to deliver to other people, and stop focusing on myself and focusing on my audience and what I
And
can bring to them.
and would you say that's how your brand formulated?
Absolutely, 150%. That's how it formulated. The doors just opened up wide. The messages started flowing through me. I wasn't in my head anymore. I'm excited to wake up every day. Not only do I do one video, I throw two in there a day because it's flowing out of me. I just want to speak to my audience so much now and connect to them.
Hmm. And what would you say to women who are looking at you and your imagery here, saying, "Oh, it's easy for you to say because you're just beautiful and thin and in shape and fantastically gorgeous." What what would you say to women who don't feel quite there?
Yeah, I would say that was not me before. It's learning to really accept who you are and be okay with it. Doesn't matter if you're not confident in yourself. Doesn't matter if you think you won't look good on camera, because I didn't think that I would. None of those things matter. What matters is just do it. Just show up and have fun and be in that moment,
Hmm.
because we are our own critic. And once we actually just quiet that person, the light will just shine in and wonderful miracles happen. And when I went out for this shoot, Robyn and I talked about it. I don't really like looking at the camera and I don't feel comfortable, but I went with the mindset, this is not about me. This is about the people that I want to work with and heal and help. And if I don't, then it's a disjustice to those people. So that was kind of my mindset.
It's beautiful, beautiful. Well, I appreciate you spending time in your evening connecting. I know you have a busy day and you're transitioning out of corporate to
Yeah.
obviously a lot of people as well. They don't know how to fund their visions, they don't know how to fund their lifestyle and move into the business. So, as you mentioned, yes, Mike and I will be charging much more for what we're offering in the very, very near future. For now, we do offer very reasonable, underpriced tuition options for people like you, Karina, who are in the space of gratitude, wanting to build your businesses this is something that financially, as I mentioned before, if, like your husband had mentioned as you spoke to me, many women do speak to me, and one woman I spoke to this morning, very caught up in the finances, a lot of fear around the debt, wanting their women, their spouses or partners, to have some kind of a normalcy with their lives, especially when you have children. So I think for a lot of women, it can be very difficult. And for you, I know you're transitioning out of the corporate finally, but you came in, and it's giving you a little cushion financially to do these things. But you're making it work, as you mentioned, having it be a priority for you to know that,
Yeah.
okay, for right now, I'm going to show up to my corporate role because I'm good at it. I get paid well. But it also allows me to have freedom and flexibility to do things I want, to teach yoga, to have my Ayurvedic practice, and to work on this brand so that I can ease into creating something more sustainable.
Yeah, and I think that was the key is there's no there's no rushing, right? When this is a process, and I think a lot of people try and rush into it and say, "Oh, my message is ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready." But even I, who I thought was ready, I have evolved so much in just the short time that I have been here. And it is a process, and it does take time, but it's so worth it, right? Some people evolve quicker than others, but definitely this is for me the right way to really hone in and really get my business up and going so that I can retire from corporate and do what I love even more.
When I met you, by the way, I remember you had said to me, I offer this, and I offer this, and I offer Ayurveda, and I offer coaching, and I offer healing, and I offer Reiki, and oh, by the way, I do this. And you didn't know how to hone it in, and you said, oh, my website, oh, I don't even want to go there. So I think I think you're really tuning in. I say attune. You're attuning to the vibration of your highest voice, your highest essence, your highest truth, whatever you want to call it, the energy that is you, that is vibrating very high, that connects ultimately to where you want to be. And because you are, and I'm looking at this photo down here on the right, you're really just connecting, everything that stems from that. I mean, you can always just even come back to this image and to look at it and to remind yourself, oh yeah, that's me, that's my vision, that's my message to the world. So I think a lot of times when people build their businesses and brands, and they get ahead of themselves, and they do work that isn't necessary, like I mentioned, certain social mediums that aren't really necessary, especially at first, until all of this is honed in, of course. Like, why would you build something that isn't necessary right now? So you're doing famously well. The community loves you, and I'm excited to continue working with you and to keep going.
Thank you. And I love the community, and I love you and Mike. So thank you for all your support.
And by the way, you're so welcome. By the way, I don't know if you realize it, but the way you're communicating right now is so much more connected and succinct and clear than it was even a month ago.
Yeah, I feel that huge shift in me, and it is the confidence, right? I feel like I've stepped into who I am, and being part of this group, I was able to be vulnerable. And by being vulnerable, it has built my confidence.
Hmm.
And it's allowed me to shift and accept exactly where I am at this moment with grace and gratitude.
If we were to ask your former self 5 years ago if you could have described where you are now, would you have been able to do that?
No, not in a million years. I didn't even have a vision. I knew I wanted to help people. I definitely didn't have the confidence. I was just at my corporate job, just a pleaser, right? Yeah, you want me to do this? Okay, I'll do that. I wasn't being true to who I was. I knew deep down inside of me, I felt like a way my soul was kind of dying,
Mhm.
but the fear and the insecurity crippled me
Mhm.
until I slowly, found my way out of chaos and back into clarity. And as I mentioned to you, I think I put an intention out to the universe to please bring me someone that can help me move my business, my passion that I can feel in my heart into a place where I can reach a lot of people and be supported. And somehow your email came across. I don't even know how I got your email. And right away, I connected with one of your videos and reached out to you right away. So the intention, universe, brought you to me. So intention is very powerful.
Absolutely. It's part of voice asana too, which is it's fun. It's absolutely intention. Yeah, I mean, many of the people here may, even Karina teach about these things, but when we're looking at it from what you're speaking of, a lot of times people come to me and they're not able to take that next step in doing this, what you're doing, because they're scared of the unknown, and they're not fearful of what would happen if they didn't do anything. They're not connected to the fear of not doing it. They're connected to the fear of what it would look like to change and shift, and the unknown of, oh my goodness, what does this look like? And that we can, really reframe our perspective, and rather than looking at it with the fear, like you said, which most of us have gone through, we can really shift into figuring out how to tune into the unknown being something that's just new and different. And even though it may feel awkward, it doesn't have to be so scary. What's scary is actually not showing up. So I appreciate you connecting tonight, and really do value what you are providing the world, because my mission is not just to have a brand and say how cool my brand is, but to help all these women like you to be able to do what you do, to connect to your audience in the way that you can reach people that I can't reach, and have your ripple be able to impact the world in your own way. So thank you.
No, thank you. And I just wanted to say one last thing. I think my fear has shifted to what if I don't do this, right? I need to show up for these people.
Mm-hmm.
So it has shifted me into a place of gratitude instead of fear now. I think once you take the first step and just have faith in yourself, that things will start to flow. So anyone that's thinking about joining this school, you just gotta really listen to what's going on inside, and if it feels right, you just gotta do it.
Beautiful.
So thank you for allowing me this time. Thank you.
Absolutely. I love how, as well, it's allowing you to practice your communication in front of an audience too. That in a live setting, it's always good to have that. So I think that all of this is great, and I'm excited to attend your webinars when you decide to put them in your brand.
Thank you.
Awesome, Karina. Well, I will see you tomorrow night for our session.
Yes, thank you. And good night, everyone.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Oh, well, I know Karina is just a gratitude goddess. she's she's fun to connect with as well. So she's doing some great work here with us. So how are you deciding to show up? For those of you here, I didn't know Karina was going to show up live. I just decided to connect with her because I thought it would be helpful for you to hear someone who's gone through this. So for you, you can write this down, or you can just leave it in the back of your mind, or actually bring it to the forefront. How are you deciding to show up? How will you decide to show up? How will you create your brand and decide to actually step forward in being you in business? What does that look like? And will you show up? Will you show up for you and for the people you're here to reach? And that's something only you can address. So again, the Brand Me tool, simple tool. I mentioned brand image, copy text, message, presentation, and voice, the calls to action using simple tools. This is part of what our students have access to. I am not going to go through these slides tonight, but here again are some of the students that have been coming through and building out their branding. Mike works with our students personally through marketing and through the development and actually creating your offers and products and services, knowing how to monetize that in a structure and automate all of it effectively. He is on a stage here speaking in front of, I think, 5,000 people, something that he never did before, and he did it to prove to himself that he could. So now that he did it, he knows he can do it. So it's time to be you. It's time to collaborate, and it's time to connect to your vision. My life is my message. My favorite quote of all time, Gandhi says, and this is my mantra as well. My life is my message. That is something that you can aspire to. There's no separation. You can actually align you with what you do. So creating visibility and authentic attraction to heal our world with your holistic brand, taking your business, taking your practices, taking your modalities, taking your passion, and turning that, even if you don't know what it looks like, as Karina mentioned, even if you don't have the confidence yet, even if you don't know how to do that, this is what we are here to help you connect with and to actually do, to implement, to live this through now, to actually not go another moment without knowing you are here to fulfill your vision and your goals, your dreams, your intentions. This is something you can actually do. And if you need to work on your communication skills and hone in on certain areas, that is what we're going to do. We have a sister school with ICF courses approved by the International Coach Federation. It's part of this holistic branding group that I've introduced you to this evening. Barbara Silva here, she's PCC, BCC, and heads up our Academy of Coaching Cognition. Mike Klingler, co-founder School of Online Business, where you have access to the marketing funnel portion and business development, creating your offers, and having access to our tools, the actual tools and the marketing funnels that you've seen all of my work on as well, my marketing funnel. You have access to that. And here I am, Whole Life EDU, connecting to your branding and your authentic voice. So creating visibility and attraction, now you can share with me your bigger vision for your holistic brand. If you haven't yet connected with me on what your vision is, on what your holistic modalities are, on what it is that you want to create or what you'd like support in creating or discovering and honing in and packaging as a holistic brand. And if all of this resonates and you are called to make a bigger difference, share with me more about some of the ideas that came through, more about your vision, your message, the services you offer, the holistic modalities that you have in place. Maybe you have a corporate job now, like a lot of you who I've spoken to as a teacher or a nurse. What would it look like for you to build an online presence or to become a speaker or an author? Share with me more about your vision in the box below if we haven't yet connected. Leave me with your time zone and the best times to reach you over the next few days, and that way it'll expedite the process so I can connect with you right away.